Hey, and welcome to today's episode of HomeServiceSuccess.tv. I am your host, Stephen Christopher, and I have another fantastic guest for you today. Today, I have Rodney Bailey with Magothy Electric. His company serves the greater Baltimore area. Rodney, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your business and yourself?
Sure. So when I started my business, I started it 20 years ago. I was as green as all green could be, great with the tools, not so great with the business part of it. I look back on that time and I wonder how in the heck I got there, but I made it. So 20 years ago today.
Wow, man, that's crazy. Really, really cool. I mean, one, just congratulations. A lot of guys and girls in this industry don't make it that long.
Yeah, well, you're right. And, this business, it'll chew you up and spit you out, right? And a lot of guys get into it thinking that they're going to conquer the world. A lot of guys are really good electricians, really technical guys, but, they never learn the business side of what it takes to run a successful business. And that's where a lot of guys come up short.
That's interesting. Let's give me a little bit of information about that business side, because I think that's a really good point. That let's say somebody's looking to get into this. They're great at the trade. They're a great electrician, a great plumber, whatever that is. But what's a couple things that maybe you could advise them to look out on the business side, or how does somebody start to learn the business side besides having to go through all the failures themselves?
Yeah. So right now, we're living in a society where information is so readily available at the click of a button, right? So there's best practices groups that guys can seek out and become part of. Approximately about 5 years ago, I did that myself. I became a part of a best practices group that helped me develop and showed me what steps I needed to take in order to become a better business person and leader for my organization.
Cool, man. Yeah, it's interesting, the thing about knowledge right now, right? Like even this TV show that we're doing in these interviews, I mean, 10 or 15 years ago, I couldn't have gotten this close to you or done an interview with you live and recorded it and made this information available to people. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people think that, well, if something's free, then maybe it's really not that valuable. And
sure,
that's a lesson people should learn now, is free stuff is 100%. Still really good.
Yeah. So there is a tremendous amount of value in videos that guys like you and others produce on a daily basis and put it out there for people to view. I learned so many things from guys like you, at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, just watching videos and consuming information and taking notes and things that I could take into the business the next day and apply. And that's probably the biggest takeaway is, through all these things that you do out there for the other people to learn and to grow, if you don't take that knowledge and apply it, it's rendered useless.
Yeah, a lot of people say knowledge is power, but knowledge is really only power if it's applied.
Yeah, 100%, right?
Cool. Awesome, man. So tell me, why do you do what you do? I mean, like what's your favorite parts of the business? What do you love?
Yeah, that's an age-old question, right? So for me, it just boils down to, I want to serve people. And the people at the top of my list that I want to serve first and foremost is my family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do it for my wife. I do it for my kids. And then beyond that, it starts to trickle down to my team members here at the company, and then my clients. So, for me, it's about serving people. And that starts with my family first.
That's such a consistent message that I'm getting with the people that I interview here. And it's really cool. And I hope that the people that are listening to these interviews and watching these interviews, that, that's really starting to sink in, that, the experts, like you that we're interviewing here, they're not talking about that they did it for the money first. And then kind of the success and the fulfillment came. It's like, you just love serving. You found something that you're fantastic at. You're doing a really good job at it. And then the success and the fulfillment come based on that.
Yeah, as a direct result. And, through serving people, It's, for me, it's the biggest satisfaction to be able to go out and help somebody else. And we do a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't take no credit for to help other people who can't help themselves. And that really, that's one of the things that I've been blessed with at this company that we can do is, because we are a successful company, is go out and help the community. And, we do a lot of that, a tremendous amount of that. So
that's cool, man. I love it. Awesome. Well, let's get into like one of your areas of expertise. What's one or two things that have allowed you to just really grow so rapidly, whether that's something that you're great at or your company's great at? Share with me something like that.
Sure. So just to kind of hit you with a couple bullet points, stepping into that best practices group, that definitely helped, light a fire under me and get me rolling in the direction of success. Beyond that, once I got a good handle on that, what began to really develop and really blow up the company was our ability to serve people first. And not just, everyone talks about serving a client, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not on just serving a client on the front end, because everybody can do that, right? Everyone can go out and sell a job and get a job sold. That's not the hard part. And that's why a lot of companies that are out there today fail, because they think that that's all it is. And it's not. It's serving them through the beginning, the middle, and the end. And a lot of companies fall short in the middle and the end. They can't close out the job to the customer satisfied, so that the customer is satisfied. And we've really excelled in the middle and the end. And that's where we really, really have developed our company. And our strategy is serving through beginning, middle, and end, and closing them out with a great job. And it's worked really well for us. I mean, right now we're running 60% return customers. So it's been a great thing for us here at the company. And I think that that's definitely one of the contributing factors to our success and our rapid growth right now.
Wow, man, congrats. I mean, 60% is huge. And I hear, like, in the community, a lot of people, when they pose questions and they need help, it's like, hey, how do I get more sales? How do I grow more revenue? How do I sell more jobs? How do I get more leads? But I mean, what I hear from you is that's not even where you're putting your focus.
No.
And it's made such a huge impact. I mean, 60% return customers, like, I don't know what the industry average is off the top of my head, but I've seen some really, really large companies that, I would guess that their return customer rate's about 1%.
Yeah, 100%, right? So, on my whiteboard, I've got the customers and how we acquire customers, right? And I've got a laundry list of things we do in the beginning to actually acquire a customer. And it's lengthy. And we spend a lot of money here every year on customer acquisition. And then I look at customer retention and I say, holy cow, there's a huge hole in customer retention. It's like, okay, we got the customer. Now what do we do with them once we've got them? And 99% of the companies continue that vicious cycle of, hey, we need new customers. We need new customers. And they let the ones that they got go, and someone else comes along and snatches them up. So we've kind of flipped the script, if you will, on that customer acquisition and customer retention. And we've really put a lot of focus on the retention part of it, because it's, hey, once you've got that customer, leads aren't cheap anymore. They're $50 to $150, some cases $200 to acquire a new customer. And then we go and do the vicious cycle again. So it is far cheaper once you've got them to keep them and keep them inside of your fenced in area, right? So that you can have a customer for life. And that's really what's attributed to our success, is the customer retention, making sure they're 100% satisfied. And hey, if we can't help you, we'll find someone who can. And when you do that kind of stuff for people, they know that you've got their best interest at heart, right?
That's awesome, man. It goes back to what you said in the beginning, that it's, it's all about this service, right? So if you can't serve them in the way that you serve your customers and that you're committed to them, then give them to somebody that can serve them in the same capacity that you're committed to serving. I love that. So that's fantastic. I mean, I think that flipping the script, like you said, is something that a lot of people should at least pay attention to. What are you doing for your customer retention? So, you said focus on the middle and the end of the job, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me, without giving away like your secret sauce of how you do this, can you give me a couple bullet points or some suggestions for people to look at those processes within their company that could help?
Yeah. So one, and this is something a lot of people I see fall short, and I'm out on the job daily and I see it happening with other contractors. It's having the ability to communicate with the client, right? So a lot of guys, they communicate on the beginning, to get the job. And once they got the job, they're doing the job. And, the customer comes second to the job, right? One of the things that we do, and we do very well, is communication. And we do it from the beginning, the middle, and the end. And the communication piece to this is the whole key. That's kind of the glue that holds the whole process together, is communication. Without the communication during, there's a lot of times that things don't go or aren't going the way everyone thought they were in the beginning of the job, right? The process. So when you get to them points, you got to stop and you got to say, hey, listen, Mrs. Jones, we planned on doing 6 recessed lights in here, but really it's only going to need 4, and we're going to have to tweak the layout a little bit. Well, a lot of guys would just do it, right? They would do the 6 recessed lights. It would look bad, and you would end up with a result that the customer wasn't satisfied with. So that communication throughout the process of the job is paramount. You got to have it. But a lot of guys don't do it because all they care about is, hey, I sold 6. I'm going to install 6. I'm going to cram them in there whether it works or it doesn't work, right? And that's the way a lot of guys think. And, that communication in the middle of the process is so important because it helps alleviate callbacks. It helps alleviate upset clients at the end of the project. And it has just been really good for us as a company, having that open communication throughout the job. And then on the closeout side of it, I'd say that the communication is right up there at the end too, because after everything's done, what happens? The contractor will move on. They're done with Mrs. Jones's job and they're on to Sally's job, right? Mrs. Jones, she's gone. She's done. But the follow-up, hey, Mrs. Jones, our service expert just left your home today. How did everything go? Were you happy with the work that they did for you today? That conversation is probably as important as the conversation when you said hello, right? So a lot of contractors never say goodbye or never continue the conversation at the end. It's, a one and done mentality. And that's a very expensive way to operate a company. I mean, it almost makes it impossible for growth because leads are so expensive that you'd have to spend 20 to 25% of your budget to maintain a business and grow it just on new acquisition alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we see it all the time, within my company, working for home service companies. I mean, you're right. Leads are getting more and more expensive. Doing these things that you've said, obviously it works, right? A 60% return customer retention rate. I mean, that's huge. So, I hope that the people watching this today are really paying attention to what you're saying, because I mean, I'm even, I take notes during these things as well. And I'm taking little mental notes, like even within our company, of ways to implement some of the things that you're teaching today. You really pay attention to the middle and the end of the process and, or of the job. Do you have like little checklists that kind of, you just touch on certain points, or is this more of like a training that you do with, all of your team where it's just part of your culture?
Sure. Good question. So I don't script out anything. Everything that we do is in frameworks. So I set up a framework for the guys and we hit on that framework weekly here at the company. We do a Wednesday morning meeting and we touch on those points that we really want to drive home on the service side of the business. And as a result of that, our guys are some of the highest reviewed electricians in the greater Baltimore area because of that. Where a lot of companies, if you look at the companies out there, they're not generating the reviews and the buzz that we are because their guys aren't serving at that type of level. And it goes way beyond, the protection of the home. It's in developing relationships and connections with people. And that's really been our bread and butter, is to be able to do that through the process.
Awesome, man. I love that you described it as you create frameworks for your guys to work within. That way, because I think it's important not to have an exact process every time, because, who knows? I mean, jobs are different every time. There's all kinds of variables that you can't account for. So I love that, what you said about, giving them some freedom within an existing framework.
Yeah, because that allows the individual guy for his personality to really get out there and engage with the client. If we put scripts on them and we tie them down to that, they don't have the same connection with the client, and it just really ties them down. So I don't like to tie them down. I just like to give them a framework. They know exactly how we want the service to go from beginning to end. And then the personality comes out, and that's what really allows them to connect with the client. So
cool, man. That's great. Awesome. Well, Rodney, you dropped a lot of great knowledge on us today about paying attention to that middle and the end of the process. I really appreciate that. As we kind of wrap up here, I would love to hear your feedback or your answer to this question. If you could go back however many years in the past and give your past self some form of advice that would have cut your learning curve, what would that be?
Sure. That's a great question. I look at being in business for 20 years and all the things that I did right and the things that I did wrong. And I would say, Stephen, that probably this past 6-year window has been the most eye-opening time in my life. The one thing that I probably underestimated was what it would really take to run a successful service business, right? So it took a lot of things personally that I had to change to make the business a success. I had a lot of roadblocks that I had to overcome personally first. Once I cleared those and I got into the business and building the business part of it and learning, hey, I'm great with tools, but I'm not so great with business. That was probably the biggest eye-opener that I had that really helped me get back on track and get to the point we are today. So I would say that going back, and if I had to rewind time, that there is so much information readily available for guys like me today on the internet. Guys like you, Stephen, who do a fantastic job of delivering tremendous amount of content and value, no charge, which is, it's unbelievable to me that you would do this, but for no charge, just so that someone would have an opportunity to improve themselves, I think is incredible. So, I wish I had known 15 years ago that this was an option for me, that being a better business person and a better leader and a better husband and a better father was available to me, because I never knew that. So with the information and the speed of information we all have available to us, there's no reason why every service company can't be a huge success or take it as far as they want, right? So that's the one thing I would say is, there's plenty of information available to us today. Seek it out and start making changes. A lot of people are reluctant to change, and that can be a big challenge. And that's why a lot of people don't succeed, is because they're in their little comfort zone and are afraid to get outside of their comfort zone to mature and to grow and to become a better person. So that's where it starts. It starts with you. And usually you're your biggest holdup.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I agree with you completely. So that's awesome, man. Basically, what I'm hearing is there's tons of great information out there, especially on running a business. And looking back, you would have focused more on the business side of things, and so that you could grow faster and grow more intelligently as a business owner.
Yeah. It starts with you. So, you got to change you before you can change other people. So you got to make that investment in yourself.
Cool. Awesome, Rodney. Well, tell everybody where they can find out more about you. If they want to connect with you, how can they connect?
Sure. So you can reach us at our website, and that is magothy or you can reach us at our toll-free number, which is 888-624-6849. And then beyond that, if you want to hit me up on email, my email is rb.magothy@gmail.com. And I'll respond to you as quickly as I can. I'm here for you. If you guys need anything, I'd be happy to help you if I can.
Awesome, Rodney. Very, very generous of you. And, I really hope that somebody watching this takes you up on that if they have questions on the specific things that you've talked about. So by all means, really hit Rodney up if you're interested. Cool. So this has been another great episode today. Again, Rodney Bailey, Magothy Electric, serving the greater Baltimore area. Just an amazing, amazing business guy, and really just a great person too. You dropped a lot of great knowledge on us today, Rodney. I mean, a couple things that I got out of this that I thought were really cool is, we talked about service, right? The importance of service. And that's kind of a consistent theme across a lot of the people that I interview. But you mentioned something that really hadn't quite been brought up yet. And that was serve your family first, and then serve your customers, then serve your team, and then, and make sure you're serving yourself as well. And I think that's something that, people should really pay attention to, is make sure that you're serving your family, because they're the ones that are there supporting you,
Yeah.
And if you don't have, a family per se, serve those friends and those people around you that are supporting you.
Yeah.
So that was great, Rodney. So serve your family, serve your team, serve your customers. Information, information right now is everywhere. I mean, it's the internet, right? I mean, this YouTube video, there's tons of more resources that are very similar to this. So go out and search out the information that you need. Search out a solution to the problem that you're having. There's tons of great information out there. And then, different groups, best practices groups, other service organizations, search out one that fits for you. Not every group is the same, or not every group is going to fit every person. So search out one that fits you. And then, Rodney really did a great job today of tying in what they have done so well in the middle and the end of the process. So, I mean, a 60% customer retention rate is fantastic. And then, Rodney shared about how great his guys are getting reviews and stuff like that his competition just isn't. So paying attention to that middle and the end of the process, where so few people put time and energy into. So, create a framework that your team can work within, and that's going to accomplish that end goal of the customer. And I'll finish with this. The cool thing, Rodney, that you said is very few companies ever say goodbye to their customer. We say hello, we sell the job, but we don't say goodbye. So make sure that you're doing something to say goodbye to your customers. So everybody, thank you so much for watching today. Again, Rodney Bailey, definitely hit him up if you have additional questions. And I'm your host, Stephen Christopher, with another episode of HomeServiceSuccess.tv. Have an amazing rest of your day.